Hello, I'm Martin Lewis from MoneySavingExpert.com. This is a video about the continuing energy bill crisis hitting the UK at the moment and now exacerbated by the terrible situation in Ukraine. What I want to do is talk you through the letters that millions of you are getting about the huge, horrifying increase in energy prices coming on the 1st of April with the price cap rise. And then I want to answer the question I'm being asked by everyone: should you be looking into a fix right now? So first of all, the background. What's going on? Well, for the last year, we have seen an explosion in wholesale gas prices. Those are the prices that energy firms pay for gas. And because so much of the UK's electricity is generated by gas, it hits that too. Right now, rates are about 5 times what they used to be. And that's caused this problem because the price cap on the 1st of April is based on wholesale prices between the beginning of August last year and the end of January. So we've already had that period and we know what's going to happen. It's going to rise by 54% on average. There is slight regional variation. So are you on the price cap? Well, you're on the price cap if you've never switched tariff, you were on a cheap fix and that cheap fix ended and you didn't switch again, or you were with a supplier that has gone bust and you've been moved, as millions have, to the supplier of last resort. And all that together means right now the vast majority of homes in the UK are on a priced capped tariff. Some of you might be lucky enough to still be on a cheap fix from before this all happened. If so, just stick with it as long as you can, because prices have increased so much, you will be way, way below what you could move to anywhere else. And even for the idea of moving quickly to try and bag a bargain, it's just not worth it. Stick on your cheap fix for now. And when it ends, the logic I'm talking about for people on the price cap will then apply to you, because you will then be moving to the price cap. Now, I'm going to talk about prices for direct debit customers now, but if you're not on direct debit, however you pay, including prepay, the logic I'm talking about still applies. I'm just going to use direct debit prices as an example. So I talk about the price cap, but it isn't really a cap on the total amount that you can pay for energy. That does not exist. There is no maximum number, even though you may think you've heard one quoted. What really happens is the price cap is a cap on the unit rates and standing charges we pay for gas and electricity. People always ask me what those are, so let me give you them now. But if you want them written down, just go into the price cap article on MoneySavingExpert.com, and we always list them at the top of that article. So for gas, first of all, we're seeing a big rise, a nearly doubling of the unit rate, the rate you pay for the amount of energy you use, from 4.1 pence to 7.4 pence. And the standing charge, a bit like the line rental on a telephone bill, the amount you pay per day just for having gas, is increasing slightly from 26p a day, 26.1p a day to 27.2p a day. With electricity, there's a big, but not as big as gas, jump in the unit rate. It's going from 21p to 28p, but the standing charge is nearly doubling there from 25p a day to 45p a day. Lots of people keep asking me, why is that charge going up so much? So I asked the regulator Ofgem, and it says it reflects big increases in fixed charges that it puts into the standing charge. So about half the cost of moving all those people whose firm went bust to suppliers of last resort is going into that standing charge. There are fixed network costs. There are policy increases in the cost of the green levy, so for getting green energy supplied to all homes, even if you don't have green energy yourself, and for the cost of the warm home discount. And that's what's pushing that fixed price up and the fixed charge up. So when you see the letter from your company and you see the massive rise in the standing charge, that's because the price cap standing charge for electricity has gone up so much. Now, of course, this is a price cap. So firms don't have to go that high. They can go lower. But all the big players, unsurprisingly, who've announced their new 1st of April prices for their variable rates, their price cap tariffs, are at or at least are not meaningfully cheaper than the price cap. So expect to see a 54% rise in what you pay on the 1st of April. That brings me to the next issue, the big question. Should you be looking into a fixed tariff right now? Well, just to recap what we know so far. On the 1st of April, we're going to see a 54% rise in the price cap. So for someone with typical usage, just as an example to give you scale of magnitude, it's rising from £1,277 a year to £1,971 a year. And yours will be rising in proportion to that, whatever you use. That price cap will last until the 1st of October. Then it will be changed based on the wholesale energy rates from the beginning of February until the end of this July. So we're 1 month through that 6-month assessment period, and prices are already high, especially because of what's going on, the war between Russia and Ukraine. So the latest analysis I've had from Cornwall analysts, who I tend to think are the most reliable on this. I've seen some other reports in the press, but they've just gone on the spike just for 1 or 2 days because of Ukraine-Russia, rather than looking at this over the longer period, which it's what it's assessed on, is on the 1st of October, expect to see a 24% rise on top of the 1st of April rise, pushing it for someone with typical use to around £2,450, not the £3,000, which I think is, well, I mean, it's possible, depending on what happens over the next 5 months, but we're nowhere near there yet. This is, of course, still uncertain. We're only 1 month through the 6-month period. And there is a consultation out that the next cap might be shorter. It might not last from the 1st of October until the end of March. They might start to do, 3-month price caps. But that's all consultation, so I'll stick with what we know so far. So the big question, of course, is, bearing all that in mind, at what rate is it worth getting a cheap fix? Well, remember, you're still on the cheap price for the next month. Switch to a new firm, that takes 17 days. An existing firm, it happens straight away. So you would lose a little bit of the current cheap rate if you fix now. The rule of thumb is this: I would not switch to a fix unless it was within around 75% more than the current price cap, or if you want to base it on the April price cap, no more than 15% more than the April price cap. So if you can find a fix cheaper than that, it is worth getting. You will not find that on a comparison site. There are no open market options that are anywhere near that. They're all 40% more than the April price cap, the very cheapest. But there are some existing customer deals, so this is where firms offer their existing customers cheap fixes, that are within that range. The big one, as I record this, is the E.ON Online version 11 1-year fix. It's also for E.ON Next customers, which is set at the April price cap. So knowing that we think it's going to go up in October, and it's certainly not going to drop in October, it's definitely going to go up. We don't know how much, but the current estimate is 24%. If you can get a 1-year fix at the April price cap, that isn't just like walking along and suddenly discovering a gorgeous chocolate lake. It's like walking along and discovering a chocolate lake that's calorie free and you can eat as much as you like. I would absolutely bag that. That's for E.ON or E.ON Next customers. If you're looking to compare elsewhere, just do be careful that you're comparing preferably on the unit rates, if not on the same usage. If you were switching to another company, they might offer you a cheaper rate, but that could be because they're estimating your direct debit to be lower. Some people saying, should I get a longer fix? Well, not if it's a big price premium, because the current predictions are in April 2023, prices will drop from the October price hike. Again, very, very uncertain. But if you want price certainty, I know that E.ON fix that I talked about before has a 2-year version that isn't that much more expensive. If you wanted to go for that and you're willing to pay a little bit more in the short term, just in case prices continue to explode, I don't think it's a bad decision. I just can't tell you it's the right move. So just let me recap. Over the next year, if you can get a fix that is no more than 15% above the April price cap rates, which is the same as saying no more than around 75% above the current price cap rates, then it's worth fixing. Otherwise, probably not. If it's within a few percentage of that and you really want certainty, go for it. But I wouldn't be fixing at 40% more than the April price cap rates. Some people have said to me, hold on, shouldn't I have fixed earlier? Well, just because fixes were slightly cheaper earlier, remember, you would have had to give up the current much, much, much cheaper price cap that lasts until the end of March. You know, it's going up 54%, and all the fixes you're seeing are around that price. Hope that helps.